Ladies and gentlemen, Hanzo Rework is coming, and it looks like we're going to get loads of new items when the Blizzard World Update hits, and they're going to be unseen items as well. Holy hell. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the channel. I am Stylosa. Alright, so Jeff has been active on the forums and he's actually posted a ton of information. So, this is what he says about Hanzo. It's actually pretty short, so I'm not going to put any of this on the screen. I'll just read it out. You guys can just take my word for it. I'll put a link in the description to the post so you guys can check them out if you would like to. Anyway, this is what he says. We were discussing with Hanzo today, but any changes there are a ways off. We still need to be happy with what we're trying before we go to PTR or discuss things outside of the team. Now, for him to even say this, even mention Hanzo, means they're not happy with Hanzo. Now, he did mention a while ago, I believe, something about they were potentially looking at Hanzo, maybe doing some bits and pieces. This has to be Scatter Arrow. It's got to be. Hanzo's Scatter Arrow is a terrible ability to get killed by. It's a great ability for Hanzo's kit because it gives him that reliable damage burst or just the chance to do reliable damage, because unless you're Raxu, who is like an amazing Hanzo, you're not going to be able to hit most of Hanzo's shots. What you're going to do is just fire into areas where you expect people to be, and you're sort of playing a percentage and numbers game. And yeah, it can work. Like, Hanzo can get tons and tons of kills, he can do tons of damage, but it's very inconsistent, especially when you compare it to other DPS heroes. Now, I know Hanzo is a defense category hero, but let's be honest, he's a DPS hero. So if you compare Hanzo and Widowmaker, Widow is going to do more reliable damage than Hanzo because she's kind of the same in a way. Obviously, I know Hanzo's different. He's projectile. She's a hit scan sniper, or even a soldier. I mean, I know he's a hit scan. I know these are all like slightly different heroes, but you can argue they're more effective than Hanzo because they just put out more damage. So, what would they do to Scatter Arrow? This is the big question. Now, we know Blizzard doesn't like design, which is great for the user feeling but bad for the receiver's feeling. So what I mean by that is you get hit by Scatter Arrow and die. You're like, well, I was Reinhardt, I had full hit and now I'm dead. Maybe not full HP. Well, no, I suppose you could die for full HP. Or I'm Orisa and I've just instantly died to a one-shot ability from a DPS hero. I'm supposed to be a tank. Doesn't feel great. So they're probably going to do something to that. It's going to be very interesting. But then again, I remember when we were talking about D.Va reworks and Mercy reworks, we were thinking like, oh, they're just going to do slight minor changes, like maybe, you know, change cooldowns, and then they just totally change those heroes. So that is a potentially something they could do with Hanzo. I mean, look at D.Va. D.Va got a completely new ability. I mean, well, and so did Mercy, right? She's got Valkyrie. Ridiculous. So there is a lot there that could happen. I think this is very exciting times because Hanzo is a fun hero to play, but he's obviously known as like the troll kind of pick hero. Like, oh my god, you're playing Hanzo. It's good. What a waste of time, etc., etc. There are good Hanzo players out there, and you can be effective with Hanzo. But I think their changes will probably be something along the lines of making him a little bit more consistent. Now, let's get stuck into some other stuff. So there was the movement changes have gone through onto the live servers. Now, the movement changes can feel a little bit weird to begin with, especially with certain heroes. Heroes like Doomfist can feel a bit strange. Winston as well, because he moves differently when he's in the air. Well, any hero that's in the air. Pharah moves a little bit differently. Junkrat, Widowmaker when she uses a grapple. All these heroes. Well, Jeff actually commented on this, and this is what he said. We're watching feedback to movement changes very closely. The more detailed you can be, like some of the responses above, the better, as it will really help us hone in on what was intended change versus a bug. To be clear, many of the movement changes we made were to address long-standing bugs and other movement oddities. Some of these players never even noticed. For example, previously when moving down a slope at an angle, you were strafing whether you intended to or not. In order to address bugs with heroes such as Reinhardt and Doomfist, some of the movement code had to be rewritten. It's obviously some of the most important code in the game, so if there are some problems, please help us by providing specific examples and we'll take a look. Now, this is kind of what they always say about this. Like, if you ever see any kind of problems or bugs, it's always best to record this and post it onto the official forums, because video evidence is the best kind of evidence you can give them. Simply writing down, oh yeah, I was running up a ramp and then I suddenly went to the left. It's not really as good as them being able to see what's going on. The movement changes are a pretty big thing though, so we're going to have to keep our eyes on this to see where this goes. So then he talks about Blizzard World, and people were asking him, where's the map, what's going on? Now, I think it's kind of easy to understand what's happening here. Like, this week is Overwatch League week. Next week, maybe we're going to start seeing some bits and pieces for Blizzard World. And then the week after that, we're going to start going into getting ready for Lunar New Year, I think, or, well, the next event. But Jeff says this. He said, Blizzard World and the new loot box items release early this year. Between you and me, I'm hoping for before the end of the month, but stuff can happen. So we've kind of have a bit of a loose like release date there before the end of the month, but I think they're probably hoping to do this next week, because this week is Overwatch League, like I say. Next week, Blizzard World and the new items, and then after that going into the event. However, talking about new items, this is what Jeff actually said about that. Yes, most of the new stuff is not Blizzard World related. As a matter of fact, also, the new stuff is the whole range of items, not just skins. So, highlight intros, emotes, and sprays. Now, we didn't know that before. That's awesome. If you guys really dig the Blizz stuff, then we'll make more of that in the future, which is great. But then he actually goes on to say this as well, which is pretty funky. There's stuff for all heroes, but not all of it is of the same tier. Some will get legendary stuff, some will get epic, but a lot of that was based on who has gotten stuff recently and who hasn't, and how many items those heroes had in those categories. So this is the first time we've had confirmation that we're going to get more items beyond what we know we're going to get for Blizzard World. So we know a lot of the legendary skins, the crossover skins, we know those. We know the Crusader skin for Reinhardt. What we don't know are the new sprays, the new highlight intros, and all of that stuff. We don't know what any of that is. But what we do know is it's going to be for heroes who have not necessarily had a lot of items in recent updates. So I think this is going to be super interesting to see. Like, I want to see what these highlight intros are. I want to see what this additional stuff is. But this is cool. This means we're actually getting a lot of content this month. So just to, recap what's happening today. We've got Overwatch League starts today or tomorrow, depending on where you are in the world. Remember, I'm in LA at the moment, so it starts today for me. I think you guys back home in the UK, it'll start tomorrow. It's like very early hours of the morning. Good time for us to watch, I suppose. And then we're going to go into Blizzard World, I think, next week. We've got the potential for Hanzo Reworks as well sometime in the future. And then we've got an event. My God, there's a lot of stuff going on. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been Stylosa and this is Unit Lost. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, then like the video. And I think my air conditioning unit is just turned on. Don't know if you guys can hear that. Because, my God, the sun has come out in LA. Can you believe it? It's the first time I've seen the sun since I've been here. Catch you on the next one, guys.